Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of Meeting with the Minds. This week, we have a very special guest. I'm really excited to introduce Chris James from A Healthy Alternative. Chris, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Well, I am the founder of A Healthy Alternative, and I created the brand maybe about 8.5 years ago now, for the purpose of helping people understand the health journey more fluidly. I think that health is a human right, and I think that in modern society, we've been taught that the body works in the opposite way than it actually works, and because of that, we can't figure out how to get the our birthright, which is health. So, in order to navigate those pitfalls, I put together the group where people can come with different therapies and different ideas and different techniques. And my goal and my team's goal is kind of to sift through all the different non things. What works, we present. What doesn't work, we don't talk about. And then provide a space for people to be able to communicate and just talk about their journey. A lot of times people don't have family that believes in alternative health, which is weird because we're like true health and then this other stuff's alternative. But it's just a great space to grow in your wellness journey.
Yeah, it really is. I found you 6 years ago, and I was going through, you and I have already talked about this, but my audience hasn't heard it. I was going through a difficult time where I found out I had leaky gut. And so I didn't know what that was or what I was supposed to do about it. And I was kind of looking for alternative ways because myself and a lot of the people in my community are all about looking for alternative healing modalities for all kinds of things, whether it's mental health, physical health, etc. And so you popped up on my feed when I started looking. I was like, what is this? Water fasting, And I know just from watching you from all the years, you don't just talk about water fasting. So if you want to share with other people, what are some of the modalities that you tend to gravitate towards on your channel?
Right. So my whole concept was food, fitness, fasting, and finance. That was like what I originally wanted to do with the brand, and people pushed me towards fasting.
Mhm.
But as you mentioned, if you think about the branding, a healthy alternative, it's not fasting for health or something else. We talk about any and everything. So I mean, I don't know how deep you want me to go, but
Go on,
you
do your
know,
thing.
one of the most taboo things we talk about very rarely is urine therapy,
Mhm.
which is a lot of people don't want to touch it because people have a very visceral response to it when you talk about it. But it's incredible stuff. Um, everybody who's lived has done urine therapy because when you're in your mother's womb, you are recycling your urine, and so. It's an interesting thing, and you can get stem cells from your urine, which is very powerful. We also talk about the liver and gallbladder flush. That therapy is incredible, especially for people who are looking to, if you want to lose weight and keep it off, you need to upregulate the liver, the gallbladder, and the spleen and the organs that are your immune system. You need to make sure they're all high functioning as well as I talk about sun water. Sun
Mhm.
water is a technique that I came up with. I'm not saying that I was the first person,
Mhm.
but it was an intuitive thing that I learned as I was studying water, where you basically get yourself a pure water base. Like I like to use distilled water. You put it outside. You allow the sun to charge it. You want to make sure you use a clear glass jar. Use like a cork or cheesecloth to cover the bottle, not like plastic or metal, nothing that will leach into your water. And you let it charge in the sunlight, and that does something special to the water. It ionizes it. It imprints it with, well, what it does is it reformats the frequency of the water, and we could talk about water memory if we need to. And then it also will break down any inorganic compounds in the water, so it'll neutralize any physical contaminant that's still left in the water. And then you have a fresh, pure water that's ready to be imprinted on. You can add, your minerals to it. You can add frequency to it, whatever you want to do. It's ready.
Mhm.
And so, we also talk about eating, proper dietary strategy. Sometimes I will say that your refeed, when you do a fast, your refeed is as important, if not more important than the fast itself.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is proper dietary strategy will help you prevent many, many diseases, and also it can help you reverse many diseases. So, that's extremely important. So
Mm.
that's, I mean, that's some of the therapies that we talk about.
Yeah, I know, man, there's so much to unpack here because because I've been watching you for so long and I just joined my first challenge and it was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. So I do want to get into that. But because I've been watching you for so long, I've heard about all these things. And I probably other than water fasting, which although you introduced me to it, I did find Walter Longo and and some other people who are out. It's like a new science. Like it's just like
Mm.
everybody's finding out there's actually money going into learning about it and how it's affecting the body and how it's curing diseases. I mean, you had this one lady on your channel, I don't know, maybe last year, maybe the year before that, who had cured her cancer. Like she was like literally dying. And her story was so moving to me because I've lost four or five women in my family to different kinds of cancer. And if only we had known what we know now and it wasn't being so suppressed, that's a totally, totally different topic. Um, I think we wouldn't have to be suffering from this. So I want to take it back just really short on the urine therapy. I want to kind of touch on a little bit on each every of the things that you just talked about, just so that we can introduce these topics to the people that are watching. And so for urine therapy, the first question I had when you brought it up is there a difference between someone who is some of the sad diets, the typical American diet, um and their urine versus someone who is eating alkaline or at least cleansing their liver on a regular basis and their urine?
Is there a difference? I mean, yes, yes, absolutely. There's a difference. But as it relates to urine therapy and using your urine as a healing modality, no, you can still use it.
Wow.
There's some caveats. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, you don't want to use your own urine if you're actively taking prescriptions,
Mm-hmm.
especially strong prescriptions, things where you can like overdose, like if you take too much, you'll overdose on it
Mm-hmm.
because you'll find that in your urine. The
Mm-hmm.
body doesn't really metabolize like the medicine we use. It's not the body's not really efficient at using it, honestly. So we don't get much benefit out of it. We pee most of our medicine out. We pee most of our vitamins out when you buy your synthetic vitamins and things. So if you're taking something that has a very specific amount that you're supposed to take or prescription, then you don't want to use urine therapy by mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the safest way to use it is a lot of people think urine therapy is only drinking your urine. That's not urine therapy.
That's
Urine
exactly what I
therapy,
thought. Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
urine therapy can be used many different ways. Topically is one of the most popular.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So even if you're taking a prescription, you could still use it topically.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to get bit by a venomous snake or a spider or even shocked by something in the sea, just stingrays and all kinds of stuff that could shock you, you would pee on it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
and
I've heard about that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Now, the funny thing about it is, when I very first started researching urine therapy, and I determined this makes sense to me because I use my intuition a lot of times when I'm learning. And I started researching on Google because I knew Google is controlled opposition. If you guys don't know, now you know.
yeah.
And I'm like, what does Google have to say? And
Mm,
Google will say, if you get hit by a stingray, not only should you not pee on it, it won't work, but it'll actually make it worse.
mm.
But what I did was I talked to people from different countries because I have a worldwide audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to my community. I'm like, hey y'all, have you ever heard of peeing on your sting or venom bite or whatever? And they're like, yeah, of course we all do that. But in other countries, it's normal. But in the United States, it's not. It's abnormal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Another cool way that you can use urine
We could
therapy.
say
Now
that
this
about so many things that Google says, but anyway, go ahead.
Google is, I think a lot of people forget that Google is a third-party company. It's not a government agency. They're not a journalist. There's no regulation to say that they have to say the truth or anything, right? Like there's certain regulations the government has for, products and stuff, but like they can lie. It's nothing. They can lie. They're allowed to lie.
Mm-hmm.
So another really cool way to use urine therapy is if you have like allergies, chronic allergies, you've had them since you're a child, you can actually stimulate the allergic reaction. So let's say you're allergic to walnuts or something like that. You stimulate the allergic reaction, and then within 15 seconds, the antidote is going to be in your urine. And then what you
Wow.
do is you basically microdose with it. So you would take 10 drops of your urine, you put it under the tongue, and it just basically gives the information to your body, and it'll start creating that antidote. And over the course of, 2 weeks or a month or whatever the case is, you kind of do it on a regular basis, you'll reverse that allergy.
Wow, that's amazing. I've actually never like I've heard about people drinking their urine because of the vitamins that it's actually like a lifeline if you need that.
Hmm.
I've heard of yeah, somebody getting stung by a snake or bitten by a snake or stung by a bee stingray or something like that, jellyfish, and then you just like pee on them and it but I've never heard about microdosing and creating like a histamine, for your body. That's awesome.
Very much
So
so.
you also mentioned gallbladder and liver. I want to say that through this last experience with you that I had in the coaching challenge, um, I learned a lot about the liver that I didn't know. And of course, with anything you learn, you should always go find your own information. And so it started me on the quest of, learning the information myself. And so what I started doing, besides the clean slate, which if you want to talk about, you can, but besides the clean slate, I went out and got like another binder that I did heavily researched in addition to the slate, clean slate. And a really, really quality prebiotic probiotic combination. I actually found this company called Seed. I'm not sure if you ever heard of them, but so their product is really great quality. So I started this regimen of drinking the lemon water first thing in the morning with my distilled water. I haven't done the sun water yet that you suggested, but
Mhm.
I have been. There was another thing that you suggested, which was putting organic material in our water, like fruits or vegetables. So that's what I do. I love my strawberry water,
Oh
and
yeah.
so good. And
Yeah.
so what I found is not only are the benefits that I got from the challenge still present, but it's just my skin and my hair and my everything is improving. And I called my dad, who's like totally into nutrition. And I said, Dad, I'm taking these things and I don't know, are they making me lose weight? Because every day I wake up like 0.5 pounds lighter. And the only thing I'm doing, other than the things that I just mentioned to you, is I'm having a cup of apple cider vinegar tea. It's like a little thing that I created like 15 years ago, but I
Hmm.
never use. And it's just cinnamon and apple cider vinegar in boiling water, and you drink it before you go to bed. And he was like, yeah, I don't, it must be you're cleaning your liver, and your liver
Hmm.
has now the ability to handle more than it did before. So, what do you have to say about that?
I mean, yeah, the liver, I look at the liver as the master organ that really regulates and controls the immune system.
Mm,
Like I don't think I don't when it comes to like mainstream education, I don't think they put it that way.
mm,
But that's what I have learned about the liver. And honestly, I think the body tells you because so the body has regenerative properties. It really can regenerate many different organs and systems, but because we're in a fallen state, our bodies aren't, we don't have our stem cell production drops to almost 60% by the time we're in our 30s. Like
wow.
we do not function well.
Mm-hmm,
So we don't see some of the miraculous things the body can do, but
mm-hmm,
we always do see the liver regenerate. And it's like, why? Why does the liver regenerate so well? And it's because it's super important, right? So, when it comes to taking in nutrition, kind of separating the good from the bad and being efficient at that. regulating that, getting better use out of your supplements and the things that you do. Like the liver has to be high functioning in order for that to happen. And we abuse our liver.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, as like a 20-year-old person who never has had a drink, they can have a fatty liver because we eat these highly processed synthetic foods. And so now fatty liver disease is not an alcoholic thing anymore. It's just anybody can have it, just
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
So I find that they want to make sure that our livers are low functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned earlier, when I very first started teaching like long-term maintenance and how to lose weight but keep it off, the liver was at the forefront of that conversation. And so we taught the liver and gallbladder flushes, which, you know, you we do, there's many different kinds of liver and gallbladder flushes. The one that we teach is by Andreas Moritz.
Mm-hmm.
And it's he has a 5-day protocol where you're going to eat a very specific way to kind of prepare the body. I absolutely love that because I do my 7-day prep with the fasting. And then on day 6, you actually do the flush, which is just a mixture of, like grapefruit juice and olive oil. And then also there's another solution he makes of Epsom salt to help kind of flush the system out. And you take these different tools over the course of that day and then going into day 7, and then the body ejects what I call bile stones. I don't think he referred to it as that, but I refer to it as bile stones. Then you have gallstones, and it's basically this. Well, the gallstones are it's like crystals, it's like rocks, it's like inorganic material that's built up in your gallbladder.
Mm-hmm.
So those are a problem because when you get too many gallstones, modern medicine will tell you there's nothing that you could do. Those are stones in your body. We have to cut the gallbladder out, which is absolutely silly because we know that there are ways to um, break down minerals. Like water is an incredible solvent. This is the reason why I preach distilled water
Mm-hmm.
for the gallstones and the kidney stones. But anyway, with the
Can
bile
you
stones,
just say something about that? Is it because the distilled water itself like breaks things down? Like why distilled water?
yeah. So this water is the most powerful solvent that we know, okay? And when you have, so like the job of water is it can go in, imagine it's like a sponge,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like a dry sponge. It's ready. You've got a little mess on your countertop. Boom, you go in with the dry sponge, you clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what pure water does. When you use like bulk water, tap water, even spring water, bottled water, stuff that's been processed, imagine it's a wet sponge. You're trying to clean up your wet countertop with a wet sponge. Not only is it not going to clean up the water, but it's going to transfer material that was in the sponge onto the countertop.
Great
And
analogy.
so that's a big difference between like pretty much any other water and distilled water. I mean, you've got like Kangen water, reverse osmosis. There's other waters you could use that are good, but distilled water is pure water. And so that's what water's designed to do. It's going to go into the body. It is going to leach inorganic materials out of the system. And so if you go on YouTube, you go on Google, and you search, is distilled water safe to drink? What you'll find is probably a document by Dr. Mercola. I don't know if it's still up, but it was nearly 10 years ago when I was researching that says that it's unsafe to use distilled water because it leaches vital organic minerals, or it might just say vital minerals. That's not true. It leaches inorganic minerals. It's the stuff the body can't do anything with. It's the crystals and the rocks that build up the calcium that builds up in your system and creates problems. And I think I'm a great proof of that. I've been drinking distilled water exclusively. I mean, there's times when I don't because I'm traveling or whatever, but I'm at home. I've got my system set up. It's distilled water. I've been drinking it for 10 years.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
me too.
Yeah.
Ever since I found you, I went out and got myself a distiller back then and I just distill my water. That's good. Thanks for bringing that. Gosh, I could probably go a lot deeper into a lot of other things, but in the interest of respecting your time, I would like to say that, well, I would like to ask you, who do you serve? Is it or better said, Is there a specific kind of person that you see more of in your practice, let's call it?
I'll answer both questions because they're two different
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah.
I serve mankind.
Mm,
So anybody from any background, any age, um, my goal is to teach. If you're seeking wellness information, my goal is to provide it.
amen.
As because of my face and because of my presence on different platforms, certain people gravitate towards me,
Mm,
because there's a disparity in certain communities.
mm,
And so the demographic that makes up the majority of my community are copper colored women. As
mm,
women, melanated women are
mm,
the most dominant in my community, but I've actually, on several occasions, made concerted efforts to encourage men, more men, because men in general we're not into health and wellness. And the reason why we're not is because it doesn't resonate with us.
mm,
Men don't want to go to the hospital because inherently we know there's nothing there for us that's going to help us.
mm.
And so we kind of avoid it. And we've also seen our grandfathers and our fathers go to the hospitals and come back with diagnosis and die within 3 to 6 months.
If they
And
came
so,
back, yeah.
right? So
Mm,
because we've seen that, we know that we don't trust that system inherently. And maybe a lot of men can't articulate that, but that's just how men are. We don't trust it. We don't want to deal with it. And that's why we're stubborn about going. And maybe to our own benefit, because there's been times in history where doctors have gone on strike for various reasons, pay, working conditions, whatever. And it has been recorded that during these very specific times, the mortality rate in those cities or the areas where they're on strike went down.
mm.
So less people were dying when the doctors were on strike.
Wow.
Now, when you look at the numbers and you say, well, where does iatrogenic death, where does it rank on the top 10 most things that kill them? We'll just say in America, it's number three.
Wow.
So
Wow.
now I always take it a step further because look, I'm not trying to make like mainstream Western medicine seem like it's all bad and all evil. It definitely does have its benefit. If I get hit by a bus and I have multiple fractures or broken bones or open wounds, I'm going to go to the hospital just like anybody else. However, when we look at how many deaths are probably caused by like prescription, by botched surgeries or other things that aren't recorded because people just simply don't know to do that, you have to say, okay, well, that number probably goes to the top of the list.
Hmm.
There's so many people that are impacted negatively from a system that they believe in. And even though that number is out there, it's not being hidden. People don't know that. People don't know death by doctor is a top five killer of Americans or people in general. I don't know about other
I've
countries,
never
but
heard it. Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
It's very uncommon to hear that, but it's true.
Hmm.
There's a lot of malpractice. There's cities, there's states where people there are hospitals that regularly people don't make it out of. And
Oh,
they go in for things that aren't they're not life threatening and
right.
they don't make it out. And it's a regular thing. I've heard the stories, certain places, I won't be specific, but um, it's pretty messed up.
Oh man, there's so much here. Um, I understand. I get what you're saying about your audience being a more melanated female audience, if you don't mind me using that word.
Sure.
Um, but I also feel like regardless of nationality, race, gender, anything, there's like a certain kind of person. Like when I go on my platform and I say I was fasting, people are like, you're crazy, right?
Mm,
Whereas there's a certain kind of person,
mm,
let's take my what I do for a living, right? A lot of people don't even want to hear it when you start talking about shifting your mindset so that you can create the life that you want to have. They're like, no, I just give me the law of attraction. Come on, let's go, right? They just want to like do whatever they can to say 3 words, turn around 4 times, and their life has changed, right?
Right.
And I'm the type of person, I like to keep it real. Like, let's keep it real. Let's go. You could go try that, and it'll probably work for a second. And then when that's not working for 10 years, you can come over here and I'll show you the way that it works. So
Hmm.
we can apply that to what you're doing, right? And that's why I asked you to be here today, because there's a certain kind of person that is willing to do what they have to do in order to get the result that they want to get. And they know it doesn't happen overnight, and they know it's going to take a certain amount of desire
Hmm.
I don't want to say willpower because it's a little bit outside of that. It's more like determination.
Yeah.
And so, can you speak on the kind of person that you attract in that sense, like
Ah,
mindset? Maybe is a good,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. I'm sorry I didn't catch it
That
at first.
no, I loved your answer. It's good. People
You
need.
know, the it's interesting. I'm gonna use this word, and I think it kind of flows into what you were saying. It's desperation. There are people with a certain level of desperation. We get a lot of people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I get a lot of people who are stage 3, stage 4 cancer, right? It's the people that the industry, the mainstream have failed and they don't have any other option. And so they're kind of like, I have nothing to lose. When you have an attitude of my back's against the wall, I have nothing to lose. It is a place of birth, you know? Like when you're at your absolute lowest,
Yeah,
you
I
have
like
nowhere to
that.
go but up. So you've got an option at that point. You can give up, which may mean that that's it for this ride, or you can fight as hard as you can. And when you have that willpower, magic happens. We
Mhm.
just had an amazing guy, Daniel, who has been a part of the community since 2020. He originally started using intermittent fasting, abused it, like some people often do, and ended up getting cancer.
Oh man.
And then, he came back kind of like, we did a consultation and everything, and he really started to grind hard once he had the diagnosis, and now his life was on the line. Before, it was like I just want to lose some weight.
Mhm.
Now it's like I'm like my if I don't figure out how to fix this, my entire life is going to change, and I don't know if I want to live that life.
Right.
So that's one kind of person. But the other kind of person that we have is truth seekers.
Mm. Mhm.
That's probably a very large portion of the people because I'm a truth seeker,
Mhm.
and you are too, right? And you kind of have to be
Mhm.
in order to be open-minded because
That's
if I come out the gate talking about urine therapy, if you're not a truth seeker, you're out of there.
mhm. Mhm.
Or at the very least, you're going to say you're stupid, you're an idiot, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Why would you drink your waste? You know what I'm saying? I think it's interesting how people can hear someone say something that's a little off-putting and instantly get enraged or
Mhm.
upset or angry about it. It's like, why are you so invested in this idea that that urine is toxic, right? Like, for example, why are you so invested in that idea that you're not willing to hear? We've all heard the stories of people being trapped under rubble or trapped on an island, like a deserted island, or, getting locked in a closet. I used to hear that a lot when I was a child. Like people would lock their children in closets for days on end, and they would drink their urine to survive. So we've all heard those stories, but then when we say it's more than just that, like it's more than being able to use it for a tool like that, then it's like, no, that's not, nah. It's like just listen. And so I think because of the things, the taboo things, the quote unquote extreme things that I say, it kind of filters people.
Yes. Yes.
And then lastly, what I'll say is when I created my brand and I was on YouTube specifically, I was very intentional about the energy I put out. I was like, look, I want to draw people who are looking for health and wellness. I want this to be a place for information, knowledge, healing. I want people to be able to be curious and ask good questions. We are going to steer towards positivity. right? And I just left the negativity behind. And that's what it's been. You look at the comment section of my YouTube channel is like 98% positive. It's insane.
Mm, that's beautiful. I mean, my experience, so everybody, just so you know, like I said earlier, I've been following Chris for probably 6 years, and I joined my first challenge. Many of you have seen because you the listen, the comments and the likes on my page when I told my results that I was getting from working with you was insane compared to the comments I get for my own stuff. I was like, geez, okay. But so many of you know that I just lost 25 pounds in less than 30 days. My goal was not to lose weight. My goal was to get healthy. And I've been watching Chris for long enough to understand, and this is kind of funny, Chris, because when I first started watching you, I can like recall you really trying to stress to people it's not about weight loss, it's not about weight loss. And then I guess at some point you were just like, okay, fine. Like if that's what the benefit that you really because you understand that in order for the weight to come off, the liver has to clean first. So it can be a filter so you can lose the weight, right? Otherwise, that stubborn weight that you cannot lose, it's likely your liver that's the problem because it's not functioning right correctly. If and always correct me when and if I'm wrong. But so anyway, so I did a what was it a eight? It was a month really from start to finish that we were working on this challenge, right? Month.
Yeah. The refeed part kind of tapered off at the end and we kind of had you guys. It was about 25 days that we
Yeah.
did.
So I alone from just the prep. And again, I told you the last time we spoke that I never prepped before and it caused a lot of problems in my health to not prep
Mm.
properly. So this time I went all in, like I'm doing it exactly the way you say to do it. And wow, the results were amazing. I haven't talked to my group about this, so I'm going to just briefly let them know that I did what's called a DR96. So it's one of the modalities that Chris teaches, and it's sorry, Chris James, right? It's not just Chris.
You can call me Chris. It's okay.
It's okay. All right. So it's one of the modalities that he teaches on his channel, and it's about dry fasting, which means not consuming anything for a specific amount, a period of time. And that depends on what challenge you're in or whatever you're doing. And you
Mhm.
don't have to do it in a challenge. I just felt like it was easier to get involved in a group and be a part of a program of a sort in order to get the benefit from that. And so, yeah, it was amazing. You just mentioned about all the positive comments, and that's what's got me going because the amount of support, positivity, and if I'm just going to say it, love in the group
Mhm.
is like anything I've never seen before. Everybody is so supportive of each other, and I frequently, even if I was having a hard day, I could go to the group, and there was like 12 people who are going through the same exact thing at the same exact time and we're pushing each other, or maybe somebody who's a little bit ahead of us that can come back and say, hey, you can do it, like just get through it, it's only going to last an hour, like, so it was really really beautiful. It was spiritual in nature for me, and you're in a good place right now because most of my followers are very very spiritual, very awakened people, very ready for knowledge, and and I think that just kind of like being out here like you are, I get that we get to a point where we're like, okay, if this information is not for you, that's cool with me. I'm good with that. Like, I'm here for the people who need the information. And so, even if my audience was, divided in that sense, which they're not, the right ones will find this video, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So you know what? I had something here that I really wanted to touch on, and I can't remember it right now. Um, oh, of course. So my stuff is all about mindset, specifically overcoming obstacles. So I'm sure as a business owner, you are familiar with having a dream, wanting to have an impact. on the world in your own way that is in alignment with who you truly are. And when you set out to do that, people think that everything kind of just lines up because it's meant for you. And I think that is a huge uh, misconception of the way things work. And I really like to encourage my students and my clients to understand that there's a certain level of resistance that you're going to have to show the universe that you're serious about this, and you're so serious that you're willing to go through this to accomplish this impact that you want to have. So I'd
Mhm.
love to get to know you a little bit more in the sense of find out what was the biggest challenge you felt like you had to overcome, and what was that like for you to give everybody hope that it's possible, but there's going to be some challenges.
Um,
That's a big one.
yeah, that's a big one because it's like, when you say the biggest challenge I had to overcome, maybe that was the most impactful, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe, sometimes the smaller challenges
I
are
love that.
actually more impactful than the big ones.
Mm.
But I can tell you that fairly recently, actually, and I have a level of success in my business right now, um, that I'm not necessarily satisfied with, but I'm proud of. I'm just not a complacent person. And
I saw your Sagittarius t-shirt.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. So recently I had to learn, this was a very hard lesson for me, but I had to learn that I pour into people. That is what I do. Like that's what the whole brand is about. But my friends and family, like people who are close to me, if you're around me, I pour into you. And what I guess I wasn't doing very well was creating that balance where I was making sure that I didn't pour myself empty, or I didn't put myself in a position where I didn't have enough because I was giving too much. And I thought that I was, but this is what I was saying too, like there's levels to it. Because I've gone through this before on a different level earlier on in my, career, if you want to call it that, or journey. And I went through some major financial battles last year, not because I mismanaged my money, not because of anything that I did per se, but because I made a poor decision in character. And I went into an investment with someone that I shouldn't have. And then in order to try to clean it up, I had to overextend myself. And during that process of overextending myself, I hyperextended myself. Like, and I started to kind of break. So I went to my friends, my family. I went to, the people closest to me to ask for help. And I'm the rock. I'm the guy everybody goes to for help. I'm the one that supports everybody. That's the role I've always played. Not because I necessarily want to, but because even as a young boy, I was kind of thrust into it. I have an older brother, which I actually just did an interview with him a couple of days.
Oh, was he
Well,
the
yeah.
hidden brother?
Huh?
Was he the surprise brother or the hidden brother that you
Yeah, the
guys
mystery brother.
the
Yeah.
mystery brother?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like,
So
wow,
that's
he
my
looks
older
like you and
brother.
Steven put together.
I saw those comments. And when we were younger, like he made me be the older brother because he was irresponsible. He was very, you know, just fly by the seat of your pants. I don't know. Like he just didn't. He was not responsible. So the responsibility fell on me, and I just been in that role ever since. So now, when I needed help, it's kind of like when you don't judge people by when things are good and like everything's going well. You don't judge people when everything's flowing. You gotta really judge or pay attention to people when things are bad, when things are hard, in order to really understand the context of their character. And I thought that I had way more support than I did. And so it caused me to have to reevaluate how I give. Because, we think, okay, I'm going to pour into somebody and they're going to pour back into me, or I'm going to invest in someone and that's going to be fruitful at some point. But just like you make pour financial investments, you can make poor, interpersonal investments. It's like you have this relationship with somebody and they're not it's not as solid. And this is not this is what I'm saying is not a testament to their character. This was my misstep.
No, I get
This
that.
was me having an expectation of them that I shouldn't have had, right? And so that was a very rough lesson to learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I also know, and this is kind of to the point you made earlier, as a business person, your life, everything's intertwined, right? These aren't separate things really, but um when life throws a whole bunch of lemons at you, like you just slipping and sliding and sour, everything's sour and everything, that's an opportunity. So that's the resistance you're talking about, right? That's an opportunity. You can either lay down on the floor because you're gonna slip and fail, you got sour lemon juice in your mouth, and you can complain and be a victim, or you can learn the lesson that life's trying to teach you. And oftentimes, you professed something before all of this ever happened. You
Mm-hmm.
professed something to the universe, to God, or whatever you believe in. I want to do this. I want to be better here. And now that energy is coming back with a test to help make you better in that way that you said.
Mm-hmm. That is so
So
beautiful.
when you understand that relationship, like that, the whole situation last year, I wasn't upset.
Mm-hmm.
I was grateful for the opportunity to prove that what I professed, I genuinely wanted it and I'm willing to work for it. And so after going through everything that I went through over the past 16 months, I am such a better person for it.
Yeah.
And I needed to go through that fire in order to be the person I gotta be to get the outcome that I professed I wanted a year ago, 2 years ago, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I understand that entire process.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make it any less hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that you automatically go into it with the attitude like I've gotta hurdle this obstacle. Like quitting, falling on your back, crying, being a victim, that's not a question. So the benefit is you got to plow through it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas sometimes people are confused. They just feel like God hates them or life's beat him up or woe is me, nothing ever goes my way. It's like, no, you've professed that you want something from your life. And in order to get it, you got to become that person. And you're
Amen.
not
Yes.
the person,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, so first of all, thank you for you being open and vulnerable and sharing your story with us because this is really important for the people that are going to be watching this. Most of the people that are in my group are usually business owners or wannabe business owners. What do they call them? Entrepreneurs. People who people who desperately want to leave their job and they want to create something that is in alignment with who they really are, like I was saying earlier. But as they get started, I think there's this misconception. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Google, kind of like what you were talking about earlier when it comes to the information that we are trained, or the word I use is programmed from birth of the way it's supposed to be. And it's all
Mhm.
false. It's none of it's true. And if some of it's true, it's so intertwined with lies that are not, we could say they're not intentional lies, but even there, I feel like that's not accurate. But let's just keep it PG. It's, it's just false information. And we grow up with that. So regardless of whether it's false or not, it's true for us. It's so true. We would lay our baby down on a doctor's table and say, "You figure it out," right? And this
Right.
journey began for me when my mother went to the hospital with a really bad cough and what seemed to be pneumonia, and 3 weeks later died in the
Mm.
hospital from leukemia. So you don't get leukemia overnight. So how is my mother dead right now? And so it started me and my sister and my father and my brother. We all kind of were like, all right, we need to like learn some things that we don't know here. And the
Mm.
information that I found was earth shattering. I mean, it blew my whole paradigm open. And so I have to be very careful a lot of time and respect that journey for other people. But
Mm.
like you're saying, and it's exactly what you're saying, if you are someone who wants to change your life, whether it's create a business, heal a bad health condition or a fatal even health condition, or just completely change your identity and the trajectory that you're going on in your life. It's really important that you understand that when you claim out into the universe, even just with your energy, that I want this new thing, the universe, whatever you call it, God, source creator, is always going to say yes, just hands down. Here you go. And whatever comes up for you that's challenging, that's the thing that's blocking it from coming in. So it is an opportunity in the sense that without that blockage, without that obstacle, without that challenge, you would never know what it is that is causing you to not receive the blessing that you're supposed to be receiving or that you desire for yourself. And so, in order for you to receive it, you have to become the person that can receive it, which means resolving that blockage. And so, I hear you when you're saying, this experience happened to me a year and a half ago. And I love that you were able to see it as an opportunity for growth and not a way to say, see, this is the cards that I was dealt. And there's
Yeah.
just nothing I can do about it. And, it's because of this person, or it's because of that circumstances, or any of the things that each individual or groups of individuals blame for bad things happening to them. The only way to change that is to just delete that nonsense. And one of my trainings, I even say, like, it's like, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not
Hmm.
saying it's not true. I'm saying that if you allow it to be the thing that stops you, then you are enabling this truth that you don't want to be a truth anymore for anyone, right? So you got to break the barrier, right? So now, when it comes to me going into a doctor's office and they're telling me I have congestive heart failure, I could say, oh my gosh, well, what medications? Yes, of course, in an emergency situation, give me my medications. But now what can I do from here? Oh, I know this guy who does this stuff. Let me see. I've seen him help people. And, I don't know if you're like me in the sense that I don't ever want to say I've cured anything or what I do makes any
No, I don't. I don't
difference.
care. No, I don't.
Right.
No.
So, you have said today that cancer is something that you see a lot of and that you help people um, find their way through on their health journey. Um, do you have any challenges coming up soon that, if these people are the people who are watching are interested in, they can come check out and see what that would all be about? Do you want to let them know about any of your challenges?
Yeah, so what I do is, and I only really recently realized how impactful this was to the community. So I put together these protocols. They're typically fasting protocols where over the course of 3 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on the challenge that we do, we have a particular regimen. We're going to do, preparation. Sometimes it's a 2 week preparation, depending on the challenge. We have a particular fasting cycle that changes depending on the challenge. And then there's certain foods and things that I'll recommend for eating and then refeeding on. So that's kind of how our challenges work. And we have a new challenge that's going to be starting here in May. The date is still just a little fuzzy because
I can't wait.
Um, it's between 1 week and another week, but it'll be towards the second half of May, and it is called. I haven't announced it yet, but it's going to be called the DR 48 Advanced.
Are you announcing it here?
I'm announcing it right now, and if Shell finds out, she's going to be very upset. But
Did you say Shell?
yeah, Shell, yeah. Um, Yeah, the DR 48 Advanced. It's a brand new protocol and it was birthed from the DR 96. So we have never done a large group dry fasting challenge. The DR 96 was the first one. And it was done in a way for us to learn. We wanted to kind of test the waters a little bit. And it really went off without a hitch for the
Okay.
most part. I mean, it was incredible. We have the best feedback from any challenge. We had the most participation from any challenge. We had the best testimonials from any challenge. The DR96 blew everything out of the water. And still there was people, so many people saying, Chris, like they do our water challenges, but they were like that dry. I was nervous, right? So I was just like, okay, we've got the best challenge, the best results. How can we make it more palatable for people? So I took it down. I cut it in half. I cut the dry fasting in half. So we do 48 hours of dry fasting, but then we couple it with other fasting techniques to make up for the other 2 days of dry fasting that you would typically get. And so we use what I call a hybrid fasting technique. So we're going to be doing dry, juice, and water. It'll be used in a synergistic manner, and it's very, very cool because there's probably people that do this here and there, and I've talked about hybrid fasting in the past, but on a large scale, I don't see anybody talking about hybrid fasting. The special thing about it is each fast has a particular pro that like it's better than like juice fasting is better than water fasting for cleansing out the
Mm,
intestinal tract and the colon
right.
because of the acid from the juice. Um, Water fasting is better than juice for weight loss,
Hmm.
for example.
Hmm.
Dry fasting is better than water for emotional and energetic and spiritual detox. There's different pros and cons, right?
Mm,
But then there's the physical pros and cons as well. Well, if we focus on the cons, like what about dry fasting kind of turns people off? What is it that people struggle with dry fasting? Well, it's they're thirsty.
mm,
After so many days of dry fasting, you get thirsty.
mm,
But that's also a pro because if you understand how to string your dry fasting into a water fast, it makes your water fasting easier
hmm.
because you crave
Yeah.
water when you dry fast,
I used to dream about water.
right?
I
So
wasn't dreaming
now
about pizza. I was dreaming about water.
water, right? So it's a master manipulation of your physical body and your cravings and all this stuff. And so what we're doing is we're weaving it together into this amazing cycle, which allows you to get everything that you want when you want it but also get the benefits of fasting virtually for an entire week. We're going to be doing 1 day of refeed. It's going to be raw food, but just like I mentioned, where you crave, water when you're dry fasting, well, when you're juice fasting, you crave food, but but it's like, what kind of food? You typically want a salad. You want something healthy. So we're going to take people through this amazing process to make them crave healthy things. And then once you do the first cycle, you'll understand when you come off you're gonna eat, you're gonna have your juice, and then you're gonna be ready to do your dry again. Like you're gonna be ready, you're gonna be like, I want to do it, and so we're gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
And so the cycle was it's built from the DR96 as well as the 21-day fasting challenge. I've combined all the knowledge from all of our challenges into one like ultimate cycle. Um, and we're expecting really good things because one of the things people have difficulty with when it comes to the challenges is staying committed to the process over the duration of time, whether it's, 30 days or whatever. With this, there's always a moving part. There's always something you need to do, something you're preparing for. It doesn't stagnate at all. So
Yeah.
when even people with ADHD or whatever the case is, you get bored real easy. You're every couple of days you're doing something different, and you got to pay attention. You got to track it, and it's like you're always doing something, but it's nothing overwhelming. It
Hmm.
all really fits together well, and so I'm predicting that it'll be our most successful, holistically successful challenge to date.
Oh, I'm excited. It sounds like it's going to be during a week that I'm going to have family here for my son's graduation, so I might not be able to do this one, which kind of makes me upset. But I'll do the next one. Yeah, folks, you heard it here. He just announced something we've in the community we've been waiting for weeks to hear about. So that's really cool. Thanks, Chris James. So where can people find you? I'm also going to list the information, but if you want to let them know before we go. How can they find you?
You guys can reach me on Instagram, a.healthy.alternative on Instagram. You can reach me on YouTube, A Healthy Alternative. You can find our website, ahealthyalternative.org. And then you can also join our free membership, ahacommunities.com.
Highly
So
suggest that.
that's where you want to be. AHA communities, because like when we announce the challenges, when we do little giveaways, when we have little special invitations, all of that happens in AHA communities. And then, sometime it depends. I spread it out to the other avenues, but AHA communities, that's the family. So you guys want to be a part of that.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on, talking to my people, and for making an exclusive announcement here today. It was
Yeah,
such a pleasure to have you, Chris. I hope I can have you back one day.
sure. You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Great questions. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you. All right. Well, you have a great, I guess it's a weekend, isn't it? I don't know because I work every day. So
Trust
I
me, I
hope you
know.
have a great rest of your weekend, Chris, and I'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you.